Third topic, which is fear of failure. Fear of failure, very real, and it just really cripples the mind when it comes to decision making and, more importantly, acting upon things, right? And so, suppose you need to, look for a job. Suppose you need to, at least get some interviews going, right? But then, you know, you just find yourself not doing it. You know that you have to look for a job. You know you have to, start reaching out to recruiters. You know you need to start submitting resumes to things and then talking to people, network, and blah 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 blah. But you just keep on not doing it, right? Why? It's just overwhelming. Okay, but then like what is that overwhelm hiding underneath, right? And so for some people, it's gonna be fear of rejection, right? And what if I interview for this and then they then I don't pass? I feel horrible, right? And then now for some people, it might be like, but I don't know if I really want this career. But if I get this job, then I have to like really start taking it seriously, and I don't want that kind of pressure in my life. And for some people, it's like, oh, but now I'm gonna be an adult, and I don't want to be like, like I want to stay in my youthful bliss forever. And the whole prospect of going to work and then, oh man, that's just so overwhelming, right? And so there are so many different reasons why you wouldn't be acting out to do things. And you know what? Like sometimes the grand forces of life, they push you a certain way, right? And suppose you didn't really go out of your way to start preparing for interviews and talk to recruiters and such, but then sometimes stuff happens and sometimes you get referred, sometimes you just get opportunities out of the blue, and then these things happen. And now, does that solve the problems? No, because now it just transfers over. The overwhelm just transfers over to the next thing, which is actually going to the interview, right? So that's why so many people flake on interviews, right? That's why so many people just don't show up. And to be completely honest with you, I get it, right? There was a jiu-jitsu competition I signed up for. I just didn't go. And you know what? When I got my silver medal at my jiu-jitsu competition, I won the first round because my opponent didn't show up. And I get it. And now speaking in terms of like professional life too, there were so many resumes and there were so many interviews that I kind of like forced myself to submit and make happen. But then now it came the time, and now I know I don't feel good about this interview. So what do I need to do? I need to sit down and prepare for this interview in order to feel good about the interview, right? But then I just don't do it because again, it's overwhelming. The whole prospect of sitting down, thinking about what I don't know, and trying to light one corner up, and then that just reveals further insecurities, and then now like I should have light on that, and then now that just feels feeds more insecurities, and then it's just a non-ending chain of insecurities and fears, and all these reasons to not pursue these things. So what looks like fear of failure is actually underneath the surface something that's generally like this big unknown, right? This really overwhelming unknown presence. And that's that fear that just stops you, that just robs you of all of your executive power. And so, as long as this exists, like there are management solutions to this, right? Like break tasks down to like actionable things, atomic habits. But you still need to do that job of confronting the scary thing and breaking it down, right? Which is what we want to not work will deal with in the first place. Ideally, we don't want that. We don't want to have to deal with it. We just want things to be easy. We just want to be able to do things. But we gotta understand there's no way that this feeling and sense of overwhelm can coexist with effortless and mindless doing. So, what do we do here? we have to realize that there is nothing to be overwhelmed about. But how do we get to that stage? We get to that stage by changing our perspective in this big, overwhelming fear. And if you have played video games before, you know, when you're struggling in one stage, the game gives you kind of tips on what to do, right? So, like, you're trying to beat a boss, and then the boss is really hard to beat, and then the game is like, try targeting the boss's ears, it's its weak point. And then suppose you're playing, like Tetris and like puzzle games, and then you're like, what's the next move? And then the game just kind of slightly highlights, hey, if you move these two pieces together, then it's good, right? And so, why I'm mentioning this is, you're a young adult. You can make progress in your life with the great unknown, with the great fear. But as long as you don't deal with it, as long as you don't learn from it, as long as you don't comprehend and understand it, it will continue to be a presence in your life. And you know what? You may grow older, and then you may find, like, different parts of that unknown. It will reveal itself, and then, you know what? Later on, it may get better. But what if it doesn't? That's the scary part of all of this, right? And so, we have to understand that that great unknown is actually a magic mirror. A magic mirror that shows what? Is it like Snow White and you can ask to tell it like the most beautiful person in the land? Sort of. This big mirror is a reflection of your biggest fears. And it is a reflection of the exact thing that you have to conquer in your life. I'm not a chef, right? So, I don't really have to worry about what if I get cut a lot, right? I don't have to worry about, like, what if I get burned a lot, because why? I'm not a chef. I've never really, I like cooking, but I've never been interested in being a chef. I'm not a biologist. So I don't really think about the biomedical field and all its pressures, right? I have problems and I have fears and I have things that are very unique to me. So I graduated college once, right? And then my set of overwhelm is because of purely my reasons, and nobody else is likely to share the exactly the same kind of fears and sort of life missions that I have. Why did I back out of that jiu-jitsu tournament? Because I was afraid of hurting myself. And that tells me I need to work on my relationship with my body, because I may be coddling it too much, right? And that's exactly the case. I've never been able to push through my limits because I was always so careful about my body. I never wanted to overexert myself. That's been the controlling force of my life for a very long time, right? Also, why did I not show up to compete? Because I wanted to make my instructors proud. And there was that super big pressure on me. And this tells me other people have been influencing my life more than me. So this tells me in order to truly live my life, I need to start taking ownership of my life, and I need to focus on what I want to do instead of what other people expect me to do. Those have been very true to me because why? Those are my unique problems I have with this overwhelm with competition. Same thing with job interviews, right? Suppose you're scared of getting rejected. And you feel so guilty because you're holding yourself back. And suppose even if I, go through the, resume submitting process, like you're sure you're gonna be terrible in the interview process because you don't feel confident. Anyone looking at my resume is gonna feel like I have no sense of direction. And that confidence is precisely the theme that will dominate your life until you learn how to deal with it. So the guide of your life is showing you with this magic mirror, hey, to win in this stage called life, you have to use this tool. You have to learn how to overcome this boss. And that mirror is constantly showing you where to look at by making it extremely uncomfortable for you. So the more time you spend with this magic mirror, although it is super uncomfortable, it's exactly where your life is trying to lead you to next in order for your best version of your life to be materialized. Your life is on your side. And as a young adult, I want you to realize that. My selfish desire is you don't wait until your 30s and 40s to deal with this problem. My selfish desire is that you don't have to lie on your sofa one day in your 50s and 60s and regret. If only I had been adventurous enough to take on the challenges. And why don't you take on the challenges? Your life is literally showing you why you don't take the challenges. Sit down, look at the magic mirror, and understand what exactly needs to be solved. Yes, it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. But the thing is, once you get over it, your life is going to look completely different. And the downside of that is, as long as you don't deal with it, your life will more or less stay in the same track. Same kind of life every day. And I want you, young adult, to take command, take control of your life. Use the magic mirror and let me know how it goes.